Do you feel like you're up against all odds? Like everything's attacking you, coming against you, going through your finances, got your marriage backed up against the wall, your life backed up against the wall? Do you feel like you're sowing, you're tithing, but nothing seems to be breaking? Then today's show is strictly for you. I'm going to be telling you how you can win against all odds. I know it's early, but this show is for you. Sit back and watch.
Changing your world with the gospel of the kingdom. Opening doors you've never imagined. From the Favor Center in Hickory, North Carolina, author and teacher Dr. Jerry Grillo gives you the keys necessary to open the doors of change and take you into your destiny. Get ready to receive the instruction you need to alter your future and allow you to enter into your next season. Welcome to GodStrong TV with Dr. Jerry Grillo.
I'm Dr. Jerry Grillo, and you're watching GodStrong TV. Very excited about the episode today. We're going to be going into the sanctuary of the Favor Center in Hickory, North Carolina. God gave me a message, and I preached about how to win against all odds. And in Judges chapter 9, Judges, you're going to read a story in Judges where Gideon, one man anointed by God, can raise up a following and go against all odds. I believe that the nations are under attack. I believe the Christian is under attack. I believe that you're under attack. But you know what? I believe with all my heart that it's not about you having to go to war to fight. I believe that the only weakness that Satan has is your faith. The only weakness the enemy has is your faith. Hell cannot win when no matter what he sends to you, no matter what he pushes on you, no matter what he puts on you, you decide to still believe in your harvest and in your blessing and in your healing. It's your day. You're going to be a winner. You're going to be a winner. And I'm excited. We're going to be going to the sanctuary of the Favor Center. Listen, if you live in the Hickory area or Conover or any around Charlotte area, you need to get in your car. You need to come up to the Favor Center on Sundays. I'm telling you, we are experiencing an explosion of change and healing and a power and outpouring of the Holy Spirit. Now we're going to go where I preach how to win against all odds. And I want you to get a paper or a Bible and get ready to spend the next 20 minutes being pumped up and informed on how you can win against all odds. Now listen, I'm going to come back at the end of the preaching and talk to you a little bit more. Love you. Can't wait to hear from you.
And therefore the Lord left those nations without driving them out immediately, nor did he deliver them into the hands of who? Joshua. Now, go over to Judges chapter 6. We got a few years that have gone by now. And I want you to read just a little bit on this. I'm going to read with you, and then I'm going to pull my 7 points out of these passages. And then the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord delivered them into the hand of Midian for 7 years. And the hand of Midian prevailed against Israel because of the Midianites. The children of Israel made for themselves the dens, the caves, and the strongholds which are in the mountains. I want you to notice the location or the geography of what the enemy drove them to. The caves, the dens, strongholds. When you decide to disobey God, you will always find yourself hiding beneath the earth. God will always have you living a life beneath your potential, beneath what you could have, and it has nothing to do with anything but your unwillingness to change. That's what he says. And so it was whenever Israel had, what did Israel do? Sown. The Midianites would come up, and the Amalekites and the people of the east would come up against them. And when they would encamp against them, they would destroy. What would they destroy? the produce of the earth as far as Gaza, and leave no sustenance for Israel, neither sheep nor ox nor donkey. They're famished. For they would come up with their livestock and their tents, coming as numerous. How many were there? As locusts. Both they and their camps were without number. And they would enter the land to do one thing: destroy it. Now, notice that they only destroyed. They didn't touch the people. They didn't kill the people. They only destroyed their produce. Satan's not after killing you. He's after your production. Write this down somewhere. Satan, he's not wanting to kill me. Satan's wanting to kill what I could produce. Enemy comes down at harvest time. They see the ripes on the vine. The vines are ripe. The corn is ripe. The cotton is ripe. Everything's ready for picking. And about the time they get their sickle out, they look out and it looks like locusts coming down the hill. What are you telling me, Bishop? I'm telling you that when you see a mass movement of the enemy against you, that is a clue that you're at the season of reaping. When you cannot take it no more. Now watch what, when you are at the point where 7 years I've been paid. Some of you can say 10 years. And how many have ever heard somebody say, I tithe and I sow, but I seem to can't reap? And well, I'll tell you one thing that I know God is still, that you are still alive and you still somehow pay your bills and he gives you enough sustenance to keep you alive, but you're still impoverished. And it has nothing to do with the sowing. It has nothing to do with the tithe. But there's something in your life that's out of order, out of kilt. But I want you to know that when the enemy is turning it on overtime, it's because the harvest is right there, and now he knows it's not theirs, it's mine. Look at the key here, that the children of Israel were greatly impoverished, and what did they do? They cried out. Now, he is not a father who is not deaf to your cries. They disobeyed. He didn't do it. They did it. They did. They made wrong decisions. They went in places they ought not to go. But look, and while they were walking, lack was coming to them. Lack, loss. And the loss drove them to cry out. But here's my second point. They cried out, but God didn't look for the people. He had to find the one he could anoint for change. God doesn't look. He hears the cry of a city. He sees the impoverished of a high school. He sees the crisis of a home. He hears the weeping mother over her family. He hears the crying of a nation. He doesn't equip the nation. He doesn't equip the family. He looks down on the earth and says, is there someone I can anoint for change? He's not looking for the crowd. He's looking for someone who says, and he knows he can believe in this, yes, this same person's hiding with everybody else. Listen, Gideon was hiding behind a rock. The enemy was coming to steal his harvest like he was everybody else's. But God knew, if he knew that if I can use Gideon, he's going to come out from that rock and believe in my word, I can deliver his people out of this crisis. He's looking for someone who can be counted. Someone who says, I'll go against the norm. I'll go against the flow. I'll go against my family. I'll go against the racist mind of a city in the South, and I'll hook up whoever is going to break my baby into a leaping position and bring me to where I got to go. I don't care what you've lost. I don't care where you've been. I don't care whether you a country or you city. It don't matter. When you walk through the doors, you don't see skin color. You don't see economical status. You see people join together arm to arm and say, we all in some situation, somehow, some way, but my God is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all I can think or ask. But God needs one of you to stand up, a wife who says, I'm done with this kind of house style. You know, women, you want to change. Listen, women, listen to me. Wives, listen to me. You can change your husband when you get your joy back and you get your life back, and you're not going to change your house screaming at that. Listen, ain't no husband changing when you screaming. But man, when they see you whistling and they see you happy and they see you that your life is like mine, and you're in church and you're sort of, first thing they're going to do is attack the church you go to and attack the man of God you attach to. But you know what? You're not attached to a man of God. You attached to the God to that man. Your family's going to ridicule you. And listen, and let me tell you something. When you decide to be different and you decide to go against the creek and against what everybody's doing, you ought to know that there's people going to push against you and people going to try. And you gotta stand up and you got to, for a season, you may not make movement up to your change, but just standing still, you don't realize this, but it's moving past you. So you ain't got to run to your future. When you learn how to wait on the Lord, you don't have to. Listen, some of you're working too hard for nothing. You're trying to get somewhere. God said, don't try to swim this big river. Just get a good plant foot down and say, I'm done with the river moving me of life. I'm done with the poverty moving me. I'm done with fear. I'm done with crisis, and wedge up and just take that beating for a while, because look, your future is up the river. But if you stand long enough and you got the right praise and you got the right worship and you got the right study, your future is now heading to you. You're not running from it. You have stood still and wait and see what the Lord can do. Somehow your future is coming down your river. Now, let me help you out. For a season, you got to fight. For a season, the school you were swimming with, you got to turn and face them. And when you turn and face them, remember, they're moving swiftly. And they're going to discourage you. And why don't you swim? Look at all this. And they're going to use your moment of struggle as a solidification that your stand is improper. Can't go to the battlefield carrying your generational baggage and mama hurts and daddy hurts. And listen, I'm just trying to help you out. You can't be carrying all your lost hurts and who didn't love me and religious hurts. They're the worst kind, aren't they? And the rejection hurts and the unforgiveness hurts and the molestation hurts. I was molested. You can't go to the battlefield and face the enemy and think you're going to be victorious because all he's going to keep doing is rummaging through your past to show you why you shouldn't win and why you're not going to change it, why you ought to be broken, why you're still addicted. You've got to go to your house and you got to take your Bible and your mind and you got to break down everything your granddaddy built, your mama built, your daddy built, and tear down everything in your house that is not erected to the King of glory, and then come out your front door and say, God, I am ready now to go to battle. I read a quote from General George Patton, and this is what he said. They said, Patton, how did you never lose hardly any battles when you faced the enemy? George Patton said, well, if you fight strength against strength, you'll always have a stalemate. He said, so I studied my enemy to find its weakness. And then I got my strength and went against their weakness. And I was always victorious. God knew that if Gideon matched strength for strength, Gideon would have never won. And he knows you'll never win when the odds are against you. So he reduces Gideon to the devil's only weakness, your faith. Satan's only weakness is when you decide to believe. Man, you can do what you want in church praise and do anything you want, but until you can stand on your belief system, when you say, I believe, you weaken the enemy. I don't care what odds are against you. So God said, I don't need you to have 30, because this is what God said. I don't want you to go with 32,000 lest you think your strength won. I don't want you to go with 10,000 because you may still try to fantasize that you fought your way through this thing. But I need to reduce you to an income or to a place where the only thing you have is your faith, and I can do something miraculous. That's why sowing is so powerful. I don't care, people have tried to talk me out of the seed message. People have tried to call me, write me terrible letters and say all you are is about seed. And I say the whole earth's about seed. I didn't have children without seed. There's no tomatoes without seed. There's no watermelons without seed. Are you that stupid? That something I have, when I let it go, weakens the enemy in my future. Why? Because it required my faith. It required Vanessa's faith to take the last $60-something of her purse and say, I'm on a fixed income. I don't get paid for 2 weeks. But the man of God said $84, and I got it. I got it right here. It's all I got. It's all he had in his pocket. That was in my pocket. That's not all I had, but that's all she had was 2 mites. Little is much when God is in it. And a whole lot don't mean anything if he's not. See, you don't have to have a lot to have faith. You have to have faith to get a lot. Here's a point for you. You want to write it down? Whatever number it is, just make it your own. When you stand in your faith against all odds, God will have the enemy build your faith. We got to go. I hate that clock. Listen, when you work your faith against all odds, God will even have your enemy build your faith. He said, Gideon, I'm not going to leave you alone. Get you and your buddy. Go down to the enemy's camp. Do what? Sneak down there tonight. Lay beside the enemy's tent and watch. He said, listen. And so Gideon and they lay down there. And all of a sudden, 2 men in the other tent. One wakes up out of a nightmare. And he says, ah! And the other one says, what? What is it? What is it? I had a dream. What'd you have a dream about? It was terrible. It was a terrible dream. He said, oh, what was it? Somebody died? Somebody get killed? He said, I saw a loaf of bread rolling down the hill, and barley coming down the hill. Bread and barley. That's what you dreamed? And you having a nightmare? And he says, what do you think that means? And he says, I know what it means. God has given the battle to Gideon. And Gideon's hearing it. And the enemy is woke up in its sleep to tell the enemy tomorrow is victorious for you. Somebody's going to walk up that didn't believe in you. I'm going to tell you something. When you stand against all odds and you work your faith down to it's a reduced where you have nothing to believe on, there's no other recourse. God, I saved this money out of hurt and out of lack. This is somebody's paid saving little at a time to pay their $1,000 seed. When you reduce yourself that there's nothing left but God, and you know you did it because God asked for it. It's ridiculous to sow in recession. It's a ridiculous assignment. It's a ridiculous instruction to let go of stuff you and not even knowing if your job's going to last tomorrow. But if you believe in your job, then you better not do it. If you believe in this economy, you might want to just hold your offering from here on out, because that's all it's ever going to be for you. But if you're the children of God, then take what you have and let God have it, and reduce yourself to a place. Because what you have can't pay off your debts anyways. Then let God have something and say, this is yours, kingdom. And I'm expecting the king of this kingdom to meet me on the battlefield. The Bible says he took them men. He said, you get each man and break them up in 100, 100, 100, 100. Divide them around the camp. Get a torch and get a clay pot. Cover the torch in the middle of the night. In the darkest of the night. When nobody can see anything, you stand there in quietness. And when you hear the sound of the shofar blast, break your clay pots. Everybody together breaks their clay pots. Sounds like rushing water. And then the light shine from their torches all around the camp. And trumpets begin to blast, and men begin to shout, and they begin to praise. And the enemy jumped out of a dead sleep and ran in confusion, and they start yelling, Gideon's hit an army in the hills. Gideon's hit an army. And the false word went through the camp. And the Bible said they started stabbing one another because the darkness. See, listen. I'm trying to get you somewhere. Don't worry about what time it is. Time is the most essence right now for your change. Hear me. In the darkest of your crisis, your obedient praise, your obedient giving has the enemy in confusion. And he uses your night to destroy him. Because you let your light shine because of your attitude. It sounded like horses. God took that sound and he shook it in an amplification of heaven. And he had the enemy so scared they stabbed and shot. And Gideon didn't have to fight one enemy. But when it was daylight, there was spoils all over the ground. Gold and all the... Do you know how much food they had to carry just to feed their camels? When God got done that day, there was enough there to survive 100 years against all odds. You have to force your mind to go silent and your faith voice to speak louder than your thought of fear.
What an incredible service that was. I wish in all my heart that I could have played the whole hour message. There's no way. If you want the DVD of the message you saw in its entirety, then go to the phone 1-888-328-6763 and sow a seed into this ministry. And when you sow a seed into this ministry, you know what? A minimum of $10 will send you that DVD. But if you will reach into your faith and do what Gideon did and get to a place, I'm asked God for 33 to sow a $300 one-time seed. Why? It's called their Gideon seed. It's your Gideon seed. It's reducing yourself that all your faith is intact, because when your faith is working, hell is losing. Now, when you do, one of the 33, call 1-888-328-6763 and say, Dr. Grillo, I am one of the 33 Gideons anointed who is going to raise up against all odds. And I want to sow my Gideon faith seed of $300 to keep the ministry on the air. And I'm going to do it for the gospel's sake. When you do, I'm going to also send you the DVD of the service. But I'm going to send you 4 CDs on Do You Have What It Takes to Be a Winner. In this CD, you're going to learn that you're a winner. And it gives you the instructions. It gives you the formula. You're going to learn how to win in your job, how to win in your marriage, how to win over your children, how to get up every day. I don't care what crisis you're in, what mess you're in. I don't care what you're going through, how you're gonna win in every given situation. Be one of those 33. Be one of those 33 who will wrap their faith around a $300 Gideon seed. Send it to the king with expectation that against all odds, against all opposition and crisis, that you can win. God reduced Gideon. Gideon thought, I don't have enough. God says you have too much. Let me tell you something. Little is much when God is in it. And a whole lot don't mean anything if he's not. Little is much when God is in it. And a whole lot don't mean anything if God's not in it. We want to hear from you. There's someone watching right now. Your business is against all odds right now. Why a seed, Bishop? Why, Dr. Grillo? Why should I sow your seed? Why should I put it on my Visa? Why should I put it on my debit card? Why should I put it on my MasterCard? Why should I call 1-888-328-6763? I'll tell you why. If you looked up 328-6763, it stands for Favor Me. And I believe that when you call that number and you're crying to God, favor me, and you're reducing yourself to a life of faith. Gideon said, I don't have enough. God said, you have too much. And he went from 32,000 to 10,000, 22,000 left. God said, you still have too much. God reduced him to a life of faith, because when God's ready to promote you, he wants to use your faith to get it done. And faith is heaven's currency. Would you do something you've never done? Would you do something even though it's early, even though you're in a hurry? I only have a minute left. Would you call a prayer partner that is standing by right now? 1-888-FAVOR-ME, 328-6763. Would you partner with my anointing right now, 33 of you, and say, I'm going to sow a $300 seed, Gideon seed. When you do, ask for your 4 CD series, Do I Have What It Takes to Be a Winner? And also we'll send you the DVD of the message of the show today out of the tabernacle, sanctuary of the Favor Center. Listen, come on down to the Favor Center. We're experiencing an outpouring of the Holy Ghost. You need to get on a plane, get in a bus, get on a taxi. You need to get here. Listen, I got to go. I want to hear from you. I want to be praying for you. Partners are standing by. Even when we go off the air for 30 minutes, we're here. Until I see you or hear from you, remember this: there's no life like a favored life.
Become one of God's 300 favored champions. Don't let this opportunity pass you by. Dr. Jerry Grillo is believing God for 300 favored champions to reach 100,000 souls. Just like Gideon, Dr. Grillo is looking for those who have been chosen by God to partner with him in reaching, teaching, and changing the world. Are you one of the 300 favored champions? Then sow your partner seed of $24 a month to experience a season of God's favor. Don't delay. Your harvest of favor is decided by your willingness to sow. Call now at 1-888-FAVOR-ME. That's 1-888-328-6763. In the UK, dial 0800-879-9013. Mail your seed to Dr. Jerry Grillo at P.O. Box 3707, Hickory, North Carolina, 28603, USA. You can also sow online at GodStrongTV.com. That's GodStrongTV.com. Sow your partner seed today.